Ah, who the hell are you, and what are you doing in my garage? Ah, yes, it is I, with a fresh cut. My long hair was starting to piss me off, so... welcome back to the motorcycle garage, anyone who's not actually been here before. Yes, we are back here today. Last video we looked at how not to do carbon fibre, as one of my viewers eloquently put. So yes, we're back again to hopefully try and see how to do it properly. So you picked this up at a point where I have made a mould. I think last time I used that mould equipment from Easy Composites, it just fell off the mudguard that I was attempting to take a mould from, leaving it in a big pile of disappointment on the floor of my garage. So took some lessons away from that and made a nice flange for the mould stuff to go on. However, when I then put some fiberglass on top, and there I have my mould. Ta-da! One thing you do notice, I guess, is that it's not all green, because for whatever reason, when I took the when I released the mould, it yeah, the surface finish wasn't quite up to standard. So I'm not sure why, actually. Really strange, because the mudguard is perfectly smooth. There was nothing there that would really take that imprint, so I'm not really sure why that happened. But anyway, so what I've done is use some dolphin glaze. There's a wee bit here that needs touched up, still a wee bit soft, but use some dolphin glaze, which thanks to Ewan from Succuss for recommending that. He used that when finishing a tank to get up to a nice high quality. So yeah, I've been using that. The surface finish is quite nice now. Reasons I went with a mould rather than trying to cast again off the inside was obviously, as a quick recap, we were left with some delamination, and just generally speaking, this is okay, but due to my impossibly high standards for myself and lack of ability, that gets us to a point where I attempt other ways to do things with the hope that it might actually work. So so plan is finish sanding this off, then put some more, clean this fucking shithole as per usual. Yeah, I'm not going to film that, but I will clean this, and then yeah, remold carbon fibre. Whilst that's curing, I will do some other bits and bobs. I've been working on seat pan, shortening that, so I can probably talk you through some of that as well. And we'll make this, will I do that? Will I do that in its own episode? I don't know. I'm away in a week. Let's just see how this goes. This might turn into 2 episodes, it might not. Such is the fluid nature of an amateur YouTuber that doesn't really know what he's doing. So yeah, let's go, and well, I'll clean this and then I'll pick this up again where we are sanding this down. Yay! Okay, so the fibre is cut. I might actually cut a bit of peel ply as well. And then all I need to do is I've waxed this a few times. I've also put some filleting wax in the areas that that flange didn't quite work. I don't know what the best method is for doing this, especially something like a mudguard. Arguably, people would just say use the fucking steel mudguard that you bought, but yeah, whatever. So we're gonna put some PVA release agent on and try again, I guess. I'm quite happy with how this looks. It's pretty smooth. Fiberglass is a pain in the ass to cut, to be honest. Only other thing I don't know about is whether I've got enough resin. It's an epoxy resin rather than a polyester. Yeah, it's an epoxy resin, so it's different from a fiberglass resin. So I have got some, so hopefully enough. Arguably it should be enough. So what I'm going to do is let that warm up a little bit so it's nice and runny. Get my workstation sorted and then go ahead and get the PVA on, and then we'll see how it goes. Round 2. God, I hope this works. Alright, I don't know if that peel ply is as neat as it could be, but yeah, it'll be fine. Hopefully that works. It's always a bit of a stress doing this, and actually I think if I got a decent pair of scissors and more space, you could lay this out in the ground and get absolutely precise cuts, but for the material that you lay in. But hopefully this does for now. It all covered the area I needed to cover, so fingers crossed. We shall leave this and pick it up once it's ready for demolding. So I don't know how it's gonna go. Okay, oh god, it's the inner screens. There we go. Okay, so it's the next day, and I may or may not have put this in my oven to help cure, because it's now snowing outside and freezing my tits off. So what I'm going to do is try and demold this, have a quick look. I've got to go get my stupid booster jab, so I'm not sure how I'll feel after that for COVID. So yeah, let's demold this, see what it looks like, and then pick this up for a bit of trimming later on. Trimming. Hopefully this works. Okay, hopefully GoPro doesn't die, because it seems to shit itself in cold weather. However, it's now snowing, yay! But we have successfully demolded a mudguard, and actually I think it looks pretty good. You can see in this little cutaway it was really easy to demold this time, apart from getting bits of carbon jammed into my hands and leaving a horrible reaction. So one thing that has happened, that did happen the last time, but luckily there's a video to kind of help with this. There's a few bits that wee air bubbles and stuff. So we're going to try and repair them. We're going to trim it to a rough size first of all. Then we're going to, yeah, we'll trim it to a rough size first of all, and then we'll have a look at how to repair these air bubbles before doing a final trim, epoxy, and then hopefully having this thing done. So we shall see. we'll go put a mask on and some gloves and shit like that, and just get this cut to size. The same challenge might exist with where to get a point of reference for the actual the cut radius. However, I think we might be okay this time. But I'll cut away some of the excess first of all and see how we get on. But you probably missed that. It's dark, snowy outside. I'm gonna have to do it outside because I don't want all this shit in my garage. But we'll be back in a second. Okay, so it's trimmed a little bit neater. Got rid of all the spiky bits. So looks pretty good. I think on the whole the body is a lot nicer. Like the shape seems a bit nicer. Just from taking that profile from the top side rather than the bottom, and then taking the bottom and then adding another 1.5 mil, so you kind of lose a bit. The initial the initial time we did this, yeah. There's another story there. When demolding, I may have sacrificed. Annoyingly, the mould didn't come free easily, and I thought it was coming free, but it was actually the bending of the old mudguard. So there's 50 fucking quid down the drain, possibly. I might be able to cut it and reuse it. Such is the way. I don't know. But yeah, that was frustrating. So anyway, however, elements of this can be used, this curve. So I think I just have to try and make this work, get a nice line that I'm happy with, and then this is some filleting wax. It seems to have transferred off the mould. But anyway, try and take a line off this as best I can, and then cross-reference it. I'm just having a quick look around the garage to see if there's anything else. In an ideal world, I'd figure out the diameter of that and then try and draw a nice curved edge, but none of this is flat. If everything was flat and on like a bit of paper, you could kind of, you know how it is. But I'm just gonna have to try and make it work. So let's yeah, this might work. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Okay, we can deal with that, I think. Got a nice scribe line, which is within the realms of not going into the deformed bit of the mudguard. So I think, looking at that, I'm quite happy with that. I think what I can do is take away the excess again with the big saw outside, with the big angle grinder, and then we'll set up the Dremel, and then just really take a fucking time with this and try and get it nice. And then we'll start looking at the prep, the 400 grit, to take down the surface of this, and then getting the flashing tape in to allow us to try and repair some of these little blemishes that have appeared. So fingers crossed. It's quite, the issue I always find with these is that you invest quite a lot of time to get to a point where it could all go wrong at that certain hurdle. Like the 3D printed parts, for example, took bloody ages to print the molds, only to prep the mold, then to fucking break the mold, and then you're back to square one again. So luckily my molds stayed intact this time, which means this is good for me, because hopefully if I switch to a front wheel that's 18" as well, I can reuse that mold and make another one for the front if this all goes well. So but let's try and see how we get on. Okay, so pause that music. Trimmed that a lot closer, and I'm quite happy. I think now what I'll do is just what I've done before, get the Dremel in here, take away a lot of that shit, and just really take my time to get this close to this line, double checking it and everything. But if we look at this now, it fits quite nicely, and I think we're going to have a nice, even if I have that stood off there. And the nice bit is I've got a bit of length. We've got a nice bit of length down here. Now, on the mudguard, so if I need to cut it off. The other thing I was looking at is the diameter of this bit here is something like 110 mil. So if I take that and put that across, and then do the same on the other side, once I've got the final shape, that will allow me to get this profile, obviously just tweaked a bit, but that profile will match. Boom, boom, boom. Same with the seat. The seat I think probably needs a bit of tweaking, but everything else, that was my thought with this. I can have this going around there, around like that, and just little details, I don't know, something I thought about for a while, so I think that would look pretty cool. So yeah, we'll set up a wee time lapse, maybe even get some metal on, tidy all this up. What you'll see after is once it's tidied up, I'll just keep the music going, but we'll get 400 grit paper just to all over this, the surface of this, just to key it back. And then what I'll do is we'll pick it up to getting some of these little voids filled and deciding what the overall length is going to be as well, because that'll probably impact before we actually do too much work. We might avoid some of these little bits. If I cut it off here, if I cut this off here, then I avoid having to repair that. So yeah, we'll see. We'll pick it up in a little bit. Woo! It is a new day, and I had my COVID booster yesterday, so I feel like hammer dog shit. However, I'm back in the garage. I'll show you in a second, but I've been trimming this mudguard a little bit more. I think it's about 95% there, but there's still a few bits I'm not entirely happy with the radius, so I need to have a think about that. One thing I'm looking at just now though is, got the utensils out, going to measure out a wee template for cutting out the back bit. I'd shown yesterday that it was done on masking tape, but I'm going to try and do it out of this like fairly stiff paper, that way I can use it at either end. So we'll get that done, and then I've actually got a bit of an idea, which if it works, if it looks like it's going to work, I'll explain it. If not, there's no point in doing it, so bear with me, but we'll go and get this cut out at the moment. Okay, in true fashion, I this is going to be like it's splitting hairs because this curve is pretty much as good as done, but I think there's a way to make it better. And I've tried a few different things, like putting it on, putting it on here. I know that's not very well aligned, but putting it on and then getting a pen to try and mark off a centre point, but then that's a bit fiddly. The reason being, I wasn't 100% convinced that this was the best way to do it, because the mudguard wouldn't squeeze all the way in. And I think if you were working with metal, you could shrink the metal and do whatever you need to do to make it the right radius. That's what you could have done with this, but with this you haven't really got that option. So in a last ditch effort, I've managed to spend far too long dicking around with a, apologise for the mess. It's cool that this GoPro just randomly fucking dies for no apparent reason. Yeah, so I've been tweaking this little bit of welding rod to give me a nice... The issue is with welding rods, you can obviously change it quite a bit by just pressing on it, which impacts quite a lot. So okay, hoping this doesn't shit itself. I've now spent a while with a nice thick bit of welding rod, getting the angle that I need. It's hard doing this one-handed, but this is what I need. So all I'm doing now is using that as a final reference to see what I need to take off. And it won't be very much, but it's minimal, but it's enough to make a difference in what the profile looks like, especially as that should trace the some point on the wheel. So yeah, let's okay, so this looks real good. I'm quite happy with the shape. One thing I'm not entirely happy with, and I'm not sure how I would avoid it, is there's a slight warp in it. Don't know if you can see that. It just kind of kicks off, which is fine because when you mount it, all I need to do is pull it into line. It's subtle. It's not much at all really to pull it back into line. But I'm not really sure what caused that, and whether it's when there's quite a few thick bits of resin. This is only second or third time I've done this, so I think maybe I've used too much resin and potentially that resin's pulled up. Down here you can kind of see it's a bit thicker, so when using the oven to cure it, it's potentially pulled up the bit that's thicker. I don't know. However, I'm not dissatisfied enough with it to try and make another one. I'm quite happy with how this looks. I genuinely reckon when I put that on the bike I can pull it back into line. It's not even that drastic on the bike, but it's enough just to... So it means it'll be under ever so slight load, tension, which I don't know if for longevity whether that's going to be an issue or not, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Woo! So plan now, gonna go over this with 400 grit and then identify any areas such as this that are maybe lacking in a bit of epoxy. We'll fit that. We'll get some flash tape, which is where the hell is it? This stuff. I bought this a while back for the ceramic coating. You're meant to be able to use this nicely to kind of mask stuff. This is quite cheap shit, to be honest, compared to the real stuff. However, I think what I'll do is you can build like little dams around areas that you need to fill, mix up some epoxy, put it in, put this tape over the top. That allows the epoxy to set, flat that back, and then we'll set this up somewhere, probably on a couple of cups or something that kind of sets it up, and then we'll go over it with a few coats of epoxy, and then hopefully that should be it. So yeah, the next bit you're going to see is the filling of the old holes. Okay, one thing, so that's all done, but I'm gonna have to wait 24 hours to allow that to cure, so I'm gonna dick around and do some other bits and bobs on the bike in the meantime. Maybe seat base, whatever. So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Once it's dry, then we'll start looking to get some coats of this epoxy resin on. It's got a blue, it's got like a purpley tinge to it. Something to do with, well, that's been 3 and a bit hours and it's still not properly set or anything. So something to do with about UV resistance. That's where that purple comes from. Ta-da! Anyway, we'll pick this up tomorrow once it's all properly cured and we can start sanding off. Okay, so this seems to have, I had to let this cure overnight so that I can actually sand it down. But what this flash tape's good for is you can just peel it off. You don't need to, it doesn't bond to the epoxy. But what we're left with is obviously a raised bit where we need to sand that down. So I'm going to quickly sand that down, then we're going to set this up and we're going to give it a couple of coats of this XCR on top, just going to be applied with a brush. I think the first coat you leave it 3 hours, gives it a little bit tacky, put the second coat on, and then you leave that and then you can do some final prep with like higher grades of wet and dry. So that's what you'll see me doing. And then we'll pick this up hopefully at a point where we've got a nicely finished carbon fibre part. So fingers crossed, roll the time lapse. It may look like we're in the remotorcycled house and that my carbon fibre is in the oven. You would be right. Oh, hello Pooch. So, let's have a wee look. Ignore all the baking trays. Let's have a wee look. So, I left this overnight. Not in the oven, but just overnight in the in a warmer room in the house. And when I woke up, it was still a bit sticky because I was gonna key it all back, but now, having been in the oven at 50-60 degrees for 4 hours this morning, it seems to be solidified nicely, and a lot of the orange peel looks as though it's gone away, but there is still some that you can kind of see. So what I'm going to do now is work up the various grades of sandpaper out in the garage and get this to a nice mirror shine. You can see, so one thing I want to focus on, underneath I used peel ply, but the peel ply didn't always get down where I needed it to be. But what that's done is it's given it a nice, well, it's a smoother effect, but you never see the underside of this, but it's something to bear in mind. That white peel ply stuff does leave a nicer aesthetic, but when it doesn't fully go all the way down, it also tends to look like hammered shit. Again, underside of a wheel arch, I think I may call my limits on giving a shit about tidying, spending excessive hours tidying that up, possibly. So this looks good. We'll head out to the garage and I'm sweaty, I've been playing drums. Yeah, we'll get this polished and get it done. Woo! So we're back in the garage, and as you can see, this is properly cured now, but it's got a few blemishes on it. I think, I'm not sure how I would have prevented that. I think it might just be the way that the epoxy goes on, but always knew I was going to have to flatten it back anyway. Even the Easy Composites video, which I've linked below that I've used, that suggests you have to do that anyway. So final stages this morning, we're going to be flattening this back. I think we're going to go 400, 800 or 400, 600, 800, 1000, 1200. I've got some finer grades as well, so I might do that, and then I've got some polishing compound. So one thing there's like little drips that may be a little bit thicker, so I'll have to get rid of them also on the edges and give myself a nice edge to the mudguard. But yeah, I think it's going to be tunes on, mask on, and just yeah, get cracking on this, zone out for an hour or so, getting this tidied up, polished, and then we'll pick it back up again once it's finished. Whilst I was doing a lot of that shit, waiting for that, some of the other bits I've been working on is mounting brackets for the mudguard. So I'm going to go with like a half. If you imagine this just in half, and then it meets in the centre of the mudguard, and we're just going to do it on one-sided. So we'll have like a point, maybe a riv nut here, and a riv nut on the other side, holding that in situ. So I've got 2 brackets bent up, ready just for final adjustment. Next video when I'm back, I go away on Monday, so next video when I'm back, we'll focus on, I'll take the lathe over, take the GoPro over to Gus's garage. We'll get some work on the lathe. He's going to let me have a shot of his lathe to cut some bracketry, which is interesting, so we'll get that done, and then that should hopefully finish the rear mudguard. Bits and pieces I've been working on, seat pans in place. There's a bit of confusion as to what I'm going to do at the front here. I need to have a little think. I'll show you. I've got a quick release underneath, so that's free. Take that out of the way. There's the seat, the mudguard's held. The fuel tank's held in with a nut. I would like some kind of helicopters. Hurrah! Why? I'm just going to keep going. So as I was saying, I need something to locate in, but I also want my seat to be a certain thickness and kind of go under that, or at least I'm not really sure. So I've not come up with a solution for that yet. But it's been a good time home plodding away. I've enjoyed it this time. A nice pace just for the build for me, which I quite like. It's enough ticking along. One thing I'm going to do before I leave, and I'll do a full video on it, but I just think for me going away, I need to set myself up with some tasks. I've got my CAD license. I think it's due to expire pretty soon, so I need to try and think about these yokes and what I need out of CAD for that. So my existing yokes are fine-ish for the standard forks, but I would ideally like them to fit this big beefier fork. So I want to get an idea of the dimensions that sit with that. It might just be a case of making the hole a bit bigger, but if I increase that hole by a certain size, I'd maybe like to make the entire thingy a little bit beefier, the yoke a bit beefier. So yes, we've got plenty to keep us busy, but that was to the side. Let's have a look at this. Some time lapse, one last tune for a little bit, and then I'll pick this up once it's finished. Okay, so we've gone up to 3,000 grit and it looks pretty good. Still needs a bit of taking some of the shit off it, so the fine scratches. So I've got this Fiberglass scratch remover that I got for a while ago for something else. So I'm going to run that over here. Fingers crossed this comes out good, and then we're going to put a coat of wax on just to give it an extra pop, and then we'll get some final pictures and a summary review. Time for the fun point. Removing the wax. that's pretty cool. It's come up to a nice finish. I think I could get an even better finish still. I've got a machine polisher my dad's borrowed at the moment, so I think what I might do, this is good, but I think I can still get it even slightly better. It looks good in camera, but up close there's a few hazy bits that I think would just sort that out nicely. So, but I mean, an hour's work got me from a lumpy, disappointing mess of a carbon fibre panel to this really nice looking, really quite impressive piece. So I think this is as good a finish as I'm going to get with the current setup. I think if I was going to try and get better, you could maybe do a vacuum bag, or you could, there's some other easy composite videos, but I think a vacuum bag would really pull that piece into the mould a little bit more, and then get a nicer like impregnation of the resin prior to getting onto this process. And also, this is not an ideal place to do carbon fibre. That's why I took the bits into the house to dry and everything else. But it looks damn good. I'm quite proud of that, to be honest. That's I think that's a win. I'm going to be proud looking at that on my bike, which is the whole point and why this project's taking so goddamn long. However, I do feel like I've got a bit of traction now. I feel like I'm getting things moving the way I want to move them. So I'm away offshore in a couple of days' time, so another 3 weeks of probably pretty dark, not much happening on the bike. However, I would like to try and work on those forks, stanchions. Yeah, stanchions? Not stanchions, yokes. Hoist them away to give me something to 3D print when I come back, and just hit the ground running. And then maybe if that's done, then that's quite a good thing, because I mean, it's outsourcing. Yeah, it's costing money. I'm gonna have to outsource and get them manufactured, but I'd like to try and get them manufactured by a local engineering house. So yeah, that's yeah, pretty pleased with that. We're gonna wrap this video up. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, leave a comment below. But that part is looking damn good. I'll do a few close-ups at the end of this video for you to have a look at, but I'm pretty pleased with that. So hopefully it's been helpful. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, help the channel grow into the empire of how to fuck up building a motorbike, the epicenter for that. So anyway guys, take it easy, see you soon.